Real insights, real impact. Heather Roxburgh's story with Nestwell.
Can you share your journey into real estate and the role investment properties played along the way?
Yeah, so my name's Heather Roxburgh. I've been doing real estate for 20 years. Prior to getting into real estate, and what got me into real estate was actually investment properties. So I was doing a lot of flips and buying properties and renting them out. And I thought it would be a good idea to get my license and just get basically be able to sell myself my own homes and find them myself.
Tell us about your rental portfolio.
Over the years, I always had a goal to buy at least like one property a year. And I bought, there were years I bought several. I was fortunate to pick up some great places during the recession too, which was nice because I got some really good deals on some houses that I still own today. So I have a nice rental portfolio.
How did you discover Nestwell?
I actually ended up discovering Nestwell when I purchased a rental property that was in Daybreak, and it was already rented by the company. And I was so busy at the time, I just said, well, I'll just continue with the contract until it expires and then I'll take it over. And then it was such a great experience, honestly, that I was like, why would I even try to do this myself? I'm just going to let them continue to manage it. And that's sort of how I found you guys.
What risks do property owners face if they don't regularly evaluate or monitor the rental properties?
Also, if you don't have time to be doing like regular inspections of your property, that's a huge red flag, because if you don't have eyes on your landscaping, if you don't make sure they're keeping the inside of the house in good condition. I had an experience with a rental. It was not in a great neighborhood, and that's when I learned that, the location was so important. But that was one of the first ones I bought, and I wasn't in real estate at the time. But I had some tenants and they were great. They paid on time, and then slowly things started to go south with them. But by the time that happened, they had a major water leak in the house. They never called me about it. They let the lawn die. And so, and I just never got out to the area to go inspect it. So when they finally left, it was a $20,000 renovation for me that I could have avoided if you had someone doing regular inspections. So I think when I have clients and they're buying investment properties, the first thing I say to them is, if you want to have a great experience, hire a property management company and don't do it on your own. Because that's when you're going to call me up and say, I hate this. I want nothing to do with this. The air conditioning unit broke and I was in Europe and it was so hard and I don't want to, and that's when people sell them and they don't want to mess with it anymore. And I think, real estate is wealth. The more you own, the more wealth you can build. So have a good experience and use a company that's set up to be able to handle all those things for you so you can do what you do best. And maybe it's just you want to live your life and not have to deal with tenants.
What should investors keep in mind when considering properties in less desirable locations?
Like where it regentrifies.
Yeah.
I think the challenge with buying anything in a location that's not great, it's just getting the quality of the tenant is going to be dependent on the location. So if you buy something and hope that in 10 years it will regentrify, you might have a rough 10 years with your tenants. You might have a lot of turnover, people that don't pay their rent. It just, location's pretty important when you're buying rental properties. So
have you tried working with another property management company before Nestwell?
So I did work with one management company, and I can't even honestly remember the name. It was a long time ago. When I first, I put one property with them, and it was ran by a really good owner. And then he sold the management company, and it went to crap, I'll just say. And so I had a terrible experience with them, and I ended up firing them. And I currently manage that property myself because I've had it for a long time, and I've had a 15-year tenant in that one. Again, the way I found Nestwell was I bought a house that was already being managed by Adam, the owner, and that was a long time ago when Adam was the property manager. And it was just such a great experience. And I got to the end of the contract that was the previous owner had signed, and I had to honor that. And I was like, why would I don't have time for this house. It's in an HOA. I have to go change over all these things. I don't even want to deal with it. And so that's how I ended up with Nestwell in the first place. And then after that, everything I bought, I just placed it with Nestwell. Again, for so many reasons. Like, you guys handle everything. You do property inspections, you handle all the repairs, you have an amazing Your back end platform is incredible. So anytime somebody sends in a work request, I get to see what it is. If I want to go handle it myself, I can interject and say I'll take care of it. But for the most part, I let you guys do it. If it's a big property turnover, like I need to go in and do a full paint, full flooring, full turnover job, like I do have people, because I'm in real estate, and that can do that for me. So I will step in and take care of some of those things. But I've only done that once, honestly. Or I've done some flooring and things like that, but minor stuff. But I think it just makes for your experience as a landlord. If it's going to be a good experience, you've got to have somebody that you guys have eviction protection, you have pet protection. And again, the property inspections are great. The billing is, I understand, I get my monthly bill, I get to see every single expense, it's all broken out. So, just overall, it's a really good system that Adam has in place. So,
what do you look for in a property management company?
First of all, I would look at reviews. Mm-hmm. You guys have amazing reviews. That's another thing you have going for you. I think you're probably at like 2,000, almost 5-star, which is incredible and unheard of with management. But, and I've read your reviews just to see what they are. And you've got reviews from tenants that felt the process was easy, and you have reviews from landlords and I've written you a review myself. But, I think for a consumer, it's probably really difficult for them to know what to look for. But I would ask, how many doors do you manage? Like, what does your staff look like? What's the maintenance look like? How quickly do you get out there to fix things? Do you have the ability to do property inspections? How often? What does that cost me? I just recently sold a house, actually. The tenants moved out in November, and it was for a client of mine who lived back east, and he rented it for 17 years. And it was managed by a management company. The manager lived across the street. The house was trashed. The yard was destroyed. And they can see it. They live in the neighborhood. They see it, and they did nothing to make sure the tenant even mowed the lawn. And my client had to go in and put $70,000 into that house, but it was because they were vacant property managers. They never did inspections. There were water leaks that the management company had gone in and fixed, but then they didn't fix the sheetrock, and it was just a horrible. It cost my client $70,000 basically. Whereas if it was a company that was actually doing inspections and looking, that he could have prevented that loss, or a lot of it. He needed to do some updates, but he could have prevented a lot of it. So I think, reviews are a big thing. And even if a consumer's looking, maybe ask, if you're a consumer, interview and ask if you can get references for people that use you as property management, so they can call and find out what your experience is.
What can you say about Nestwell's tenant screening?
The screening of the tenant, I do know that over the years there have been times where my houses rent fast, and sometimes they're a little slower depending on the rental market. And I'll say, hey, what's going on? And well, we got this application or that application, but we didn't feel like they were strong enough, so we're going to wait. And I appreciate that, because I don't want a management company to put a tenant in that might be a risk with credit, that they're not going to pay the rent or things, because then you have to evict them. So I think it's the screening process too. You guys are picky about the tenants you put in your homes, and I think it shows just by how they're taken care of as well. So I think that's an important aspect of it too. So screening, property inspections, the maintenance piece of things, and just making sure, the communication is excellent. Again, you guys have a really good portal. So I always know what's going on with my houses, and I always know when the rent comes in, because I get a notification that a tenant paid the rent. So it makes it easy for me to be involved and see at a high level what's happening, but not have to be in the day-to-day.
What's your take on the monthly reports Nestwell provides?
I go over, I guess I get sent like a statement that shows the rents that were collected, the expenses that were paid, if there were any maintenance items, and I see the high level of it, and I review them in detail, and then I delete them and wait to get it the next month. So, if I see like a repair that comes through, you guys also notify me when the repair's been completed, so I know it's been done, and they're fast. You guys are fast. You get out there quick and get it done fast.
How has Nestwell support, like rental analysis, helped you in your business?
The other thing that's really nice, when I have a client that's looking for an investment property, the first thing I do is get a hold of Roz, because Roz is able to pull comps on rentals, and that's not my forte. So if somebody says, I found this home in this neighborhood, I can say, Roz, can you pull a quick report for me and tell me what this house is going to rent for, this townhome? And she and I work super well together with that. So when I have clients, it's so nice to have somebody be able to give me a really accurate amount of the rent, so I'm not just guessing and hoping that I give my client accurate information. So that's another piece and that's another benefit that you guys provide is, there have been many times where the tenant my client never bought anything, and so Roz put a bunch of work into it, but usually they do buy, but it's always helpful to have that as a resource to me and to my clients.
Do you find having access to a rental analysis helps your client feel more confident about their investment choices?
It's 100% helps with it. They have to know what it's going to be able to rent for. I don't know any investor that doesn't care about their cash flow side of things, or if they're going to be writing a check each month. So that part is extremely important, that you have somebody that can give you good, solid, accurate numbers, because you guys have such a huge portfolio. Roz can usually say, well, we already have 3 rentals in this neighborhood and this is what they rent for, or in this complex and this is what they rent for. And so you've got a way better pulse on the rental market than I do as far as pricing goes. I can help my clients find great investments, but then when it comes down to actually determining the exact rents, it's not something I do every day, but you guys do. And because, again, you've got such a big portfolio, you can usually go within your own portfolio to come up with rents.
As a realtor, how does partnering with a trusted team like Nestwell help you build client confidence?
I think that perspective is when you do get investors, then you can firmly and confidently say, I have a really good company that I can connect you with when you do find that property. And when we are out searching for properties, we will be able to get accurate rental analyses, so you know what you buy is going to be a good solid investment for you, and you understand the numbers, whether it's you're looking for a lot of cash flow or you're looking for appreciation but you don't want to write a check each month. They have a good pulse on things and they'll be ready to take it over as soon as you close. It just makes it so much smoother for landlords basically to get into the rental game without having to do all the work themselves and even know what to do. Most people don't know what to do unless they already have a portfolio, or they buy their thing to do all the work themselves and even know what to do. Most people don't know what to do unless they already have a portfolio, or they buy their first property and they screw it up so bad they don't ever want to do it again, which is what I see most commonly. So, because it's difficult. Being a landlord is hard. There are times where I'm like, I hate this. I love having my houses, but every once in a while, you have a house and it's just causes there's so many issues and the furnace breaks and there's all these problems and stuff. But if you're not having to be the one that's hands-on dealing with it and you've got a company doing it and you're just watching what they're doing in the background and you can go do your job and go be with your kids and your family, that's the best of all worlds when you're being an investor, especially if you have a big portfolio.
Were you ever afraid your clients might get poached? Did you have that concern before working with us?
I think that could be probably a fear for agents. I will say that in my experience with you guys, I've never, ever encountered that ever. You guys have always sent my clients back to me, and I trust that you always will. And I keep a really strong relationship with clients, so they usually call me back anyways.
What do you think are the initial misconceptions about hiring a property management company?
So 2 things. On the side of an investor buying an investment property, especially if it's their first one, they don't want to spend the money. So they want to make the most money possible, so they won't look at property management. And then they have to do it all themselves and they don't know what they're doing, and it's just a big, huge headache. So I think the biggest reason, it's not the fear of having, turning it over, having a management company. They don't want to pay for it. And I understand, you have to give up some of your rents, but you're giving up rents for freedom and rents for time. So that's the way you have to look at it. And sometimes the furnace breaks in the middle of the winter at midnight, and I don't want that call. I don't know very many people that would. Or I was in Europe one time and I saw that an air conditioning unit broke in the middle of the summer, and I saw the order come through and I saw you guys go take care of it, and I don't know what I would have done. It was a swamp cooler. I don't know many people that do swamp coolers today. So, that's the beauty of having management. I think for agents, there is always that fear. And I think the thing to do is you just have a conversation. Hey, I'm going to refer this client to you, and I expect that if they do end up selling, I want you to send them back to me. so I can help them. We're partners. That's the whole thing, is that we are partners in this, and it's not me giving a client to you guys so you guys are stealing my clients, because you don't work that way. You guys work very collaboratively with real estate agents, and so I think it's just that conversation. But I don't think agents need to be afraid, at least at your organization. I'm sure there's other places where it happens, but I haven't experienced.
Will you recommend Nestwell to your clients?
Yes, I would say it's very safe to recommend Nestwell. You guys have a great program.
Real insights, real impact. Heather Roxburgh story with Nestwell.